Hey lovely, you're welcome to my channel. Today we'll be learning how to draft our basic body pattern. If this is what you want to learn, please let's get started. Please don't forget to subscribe, like and share this video. What we'll be needing for this, we'll be needing our pattern master, our ruler, pencil and tape. I'm using the upper part as my shoulder line. From that shoulder line, I went down by 8 inches, which is my chest line, 11 inches, which is my bust point. I went down by 16 inches, which is my waistline, and the length of the blouse I'm making is 20 inches. I'm using my ruler to connect all the points to draw a vertical line across all the points I marked. I'm done marking my line. Now I'll be measuring my shoulder measurements. My shoulder measurement is 16 divided by 2, which is 8. I marked 8 at that point. Then I marked 3 for my neckline, for my neck width, sorry. On the chest line, I still mark 8 inches. That is my shoulder measurement. I use my ruler to connect the 2 points together. I'm done connecting the 2 lines together. My chest line, I'll measure quarter of my bust measurement. My bust measurement is 38 divided by 4 will give me 9.5. I marked out that 9.5. Then on my waistline, I marked out quarter of my waist measurement, which is 7.5. My waist is 37.5. Then on the hemline, I measured quarter of my hip measurement, which is still 9.5. Then I went ahead to connect the points together. Then I went ahead to curve on that sharp edge. You're not supposed to leave the sharp edge like that. Then I measured my neckline, which is, I said 3, which I used 3 for. I came down by 3 as well. I used my curve ruler to connect the 2 points together. Now my neckline is set. On the shoulder line, I came down by 1 inch for shoulder slope. Then I'll use my ruler to connect it back to the neck. I'm done connecting it. Now I'll measure what I have on that shoulder line and divide by 2. Then on that point, I'll come up by half of an inch. Then I'll use my curve rule. I'll use my curve rule to connect the 3 points together. My bust line, the 1/2 inch I came out with, then to the chest line. Sorry, to the So I'm trying to get my darts, but unfortunately the recording was interrupted at this point. I will explain how I got my darts in the next part. Just stay tuned. I'm measuring my nipple to nipple measurement. So now this is the next part. So on my waistline I measured 4 inches. Then on the bust points I measured 4 inches. That's my nipple to nipple measurement divided by 2. Then on the hemline I did the same thing. Then from the hemline I came up by 1 inch. Then on the bust point I came down by 1 inch. Then on my waistline I opened the darts with 1/2 inch on both sides. Then I connected it to the 1 inch I came up with and the 1 inch I went down with. Then I added 1 inch allowance on the side. Then that dart intake I added it back to the waistline. Then I'm going to be connecting it now for you to see. From the 1 inch allowance I added, then I connected it back to the 1 inch waist dart that I connected, and I will now connect it back to the hemline. Now I'm done connecting. This is how it looks like. I hope you can see. Hope you guys can see it very well. Now I'm going to be cutting it out to show you how it looks. And I'm done cutting. This is our basic body block, the front part. This is how it looks. Moving to the back block, I've gone ahead to draw all my lines. Then I came down on the neckline by 1/2 inch and 3 inches I used at the front. Then shoulder slope still remained the same, 1 inch. Then I still went ahead to draw my nipple to nipple measurement divided by 2. I drew it all the way down. Then I still came up by 1 inch. You can decide not to come up by 1 inch. This one is just my choice. That's how I like it. Then on the waistline, an inch on both sides, the same way I did for the front. I'm going to be connecting this to the chest line. That's the difference between the front block and the back block. The back, you can remember, we connected to 1 inch below our bust point, but this one we are going to be connecting to the chest line. Now I'm done connecting. I'm going to be taking my vertical measurement. My bust is 9.5. 38 divided by 4 will give you 9.5. On the waistline, 7.5. 30 divided by 4 will give you 7.5. Then on the hemline, I'll be using my hip measurement. Now I'm adding allowance. I added that intake. I added the allowance 1 inch. Then on the hip line, I did 9.5. 38 is still my hip, and I added 1 inch allowance. Remember, on the waist point I added to 1 inch allowance, and I still added 1 inch for the dart intake. Then on the bust line, I added 1 inch, so I'm going to be connecting everything together. Now I've connected the lines, and this is how it looks. So now on the armhole, to get my armhole, I will just use my curve ruler to connect from my bust point to meet the shoulder line. As I'm doing now, just watch me closely as I'm doing it. Yeah, this is how to connect the back. But for the front, we came out by 1 inch. We looked for the midpoint and came out by half inch. But on the back part, you don't. The reason why we did it for the front is for budge, so that there will not be budge at that front part. That's why we did it. Now I'm done. I'm going to be cutting out for you to see how everything looks. Remember, while you're cutting on your fabrics, you're going to still be adding zipper allowance for the back block. If you watch now, allowance on this place I used as my center back, you're going to be adding 1 inch when you're cutting on your fabrics. This is exactly how it looks. Don't forget to put half an inch while cutting for the back on your fabric. This is the front block and the back block. I hope this is understood. Thanks for